Have you ever been part of a high-functioning team? Everything pops. There's an electric buzz around the team. Enthusiasm flows, optimism's in the air. It's an exciting thing to be part of, maybe even thrilling. Well, have you ever been in a low-functioning team? Things are clunky, they're awkward. Nobody really knows how to apply themselves or where to fit in. It can be really uncomfortable. Even a grown adult can be made to feel like they're on a high school group assignment team. Well, I've been fortunate to be among some very high functioning teams, and I've also been on some teams that were a little odd. Tonight, in the next few minutes, you're going to learn about how to create and identify, support high functioning teams. The universal language of collaborative problem solving has just 4 key pearls of wisdom. And by the end of this evening, you're going to understand them deeply and understand how to deploy them. But before I get into the language of the universal collaborative discussion, I'm going to just walk you back in history so that you can understand where it comes from. So this is me. Excuse the fashion faux pas. It's the year 2000. I'm 25 years old, and Vancouver is still a small town. Well, sometimes. I work on the local ski resort as a ski patroller, and I got to tell you, it's an amazing job. There's some really incredible people there, and we have some really interesting jobs to do. There's avalanche control, first aid, rope rescue. It's a fascinating place to work, and sometimes it is actually thrilling. But every year at the end of the season, I have to find other work to do. So I bartend, and maybe I do a little bit of roofing and some industrial first aid. I'm really looking for a career that I can sink my teeth into year-round. So it's then that I see this advertisement in the local newspaper. That's right, this story is so old, they're actually making news and putting it on paper. This is the first offering of a program called Nautical Sciences. It's at BCIT, and the model is you spend 6 months in the classroom and then 6 months at sea on ships. And you repeat that year after year until you become something called a master mariner. Now I'm enticed. I think this is just what I'm looking for. It's got adventure, it's got probably lots of learning, and it's probably challenging, and I bet I'll meet some pretty interesting people. So I sign up, I do the 6 months in school, and then I get my first deployment on a ship, and this becomes my new home. I fly down to Texas to meet the ship. We sail up the Mississippi to Baton Rouge, back on down, and across what I think we're still allowed to call the Gulf of Mexico here, maybe not south of the border. We go across the Panama Canal, up to Japan, Taiwan, Korea, and finally down to Singapore and Tokyo. Sorry, Singapore and Hong Kong. It's the adventure of a lifetime. But just like when you try a shoe on at the store, and sometimes you have to put your foot in the wrong shoe to know it doesn't fit, well, I tried this on, and I knew pretty much right away, just like with the shoe, that it didn't fit. So I got up the courage after a few weeks, and I walk into the captain's cabin, and I say, "Captain, I don't think this is a good fit. I'd like to go home." And he all too casually says to me, "What do you think you'll do when you go back to Vancouver?" Now, I didn't really have an answer prepared because I hadn't really thought that far. I just wanted to get off the ship. So I said, "Well, I think I'll probably go back to ski patrolling and maybe bartending." And that's when he drops the bomb. He says, "I'm going to do you a favor. I'm going to keep your passport and the ship safe until you can come back in the cabin here and you can tell me what you're actually going to do with the rest of your life." You see, the sea is a great place to find yourself. Good luck. So I close the cabin door and I think, boy, that didn't go how I thought it was going to go. And then I set about trying to figure out how to answer this question so I can get off the ship. I come to bring a notepad in my coveralls. I would leave it in the top pocket with my pencil. And as I'm working around the ship, if I get ideas, I write them down in the notepad. And pretty soon that notepad's filling up. And one day, while I'm going through this process, I'm thinking about what I really liked about ski patrol. And I have this image in my mind of me leading a group of ski patrollers on some sort of medical rescue with ropes. And then the image flickers. And I see myself in a completely different context, but doing the same kind of work. But instead of ski patrollers around the patients, it's doctors and nurses. And I stop what I'm doing, and I pull out my notepad, and I write, "Can you imagine yourself as a trauma surgeon. And from the moment my pencil leaves that page, I can't let go of that image. And so after just a few more weeks, I go back to the captain and I say, "Captain, I think I want to go to medical school." And he says, "You know what, I think you will." And he flew me home, and 3 days later, I was back in school on my new adventure. And just 13 short years later, I walked out of the University of Toronto with my trauma fellowship in hand. Now it's 25 years later. And I guess I became the thing that I imagined. With the new career came all the things you'd expect. Incredible patient contact, the privilege of helping people. But it also came with challenges. Some of these you've heard about. Endemic physician burnout, skyrocketing wait lists, which actually makes it really hard to look after people. It came with isolation and loneliness, and if we're being honest, some fairly high levels of stress. And it was under this context that I was approached to become part of a pilot project to see if we could fix this critical problem in society. I hired a kinesiologist and a nurse, and together, the three of us started to figure out how to redesign our healthcare. Tasks that I'd traditionally done in isolation by myself were now dispersed amongst the group. And fairly quickly, we started to get our data in. The patients were raving about us. Our wait list plummeted. Our efficiency doubled. And most importantly for me, we created this new working environment where healthcare providers could not only survive, but actually thrive. So then we created a curriculum, and we started teaching teams of specialists how to do this work, this new, incredible, optimistic opportunity. What we noticed is that these specialist groups were very diverse. There were some pretty big personalities and pretty interesting patient populations too. Each group needed their own solutions. And as we worked through and helped all these teams, we slowly got to get some messages that filtered through. And there were basically four things. I said three, but four things that united all these groups that were successful. Tonight, you're going to hear about all these four things, and you're going to understand deeply the perspective that we've discovered. So picture a plant, a sapling. It's growing in soil. Now it's not doing well. The leaves are withered. What's your approach? You might decide to try to inspire it, like we're doing tonight. Come on, little plant, you can do it. Think big, strong tree thoughts. Or maybe you examine the soil it's in. And maybe you think, maybe the soil's no good. Maybe there's nothing wrong with the seedling. Well, people can be in bad soil too. Maybe they've got incompatible colleagues. Maybe an incompatible environment or incompatible work vision. So in low-functioning teams, the members of the team have difficulty thriving. Those people are looking for better soil. You'll find them on LinkedIn. But if you examine the collaborative or the universal language of collaborative problem solving, what you'll find is that you can create healthy soil, not just for yourself, but for your whole team. Here then are the four pearls we've discovered. Number one, the team picks the team. Now, when I first assembled my team, I picked my first teammate, and that was my wife. Or maybe she picked me. Then her and I together, we hired the kinesiologist. And then the three of us, we hired the nurse. And then finally the medical office assistant. You see, low-functioning teams, they struggle because they don't always get along. Maybe they're not compatible. Maybe they don't even like each other. But in high-functioning teams, the teams want to work together. They work well together and they like working together. The problem with situations where the team's not picking the team is that maybe someone from corporate office has put the team together. Imagine that first day at work when you come to work and they say, "You're going to love the team members we picked for you." Your first thought is, "Uh-oh, I don't know if I'll like them at all." So when the team picks the team, everybody wants to come to work and work together. The team picks the objective. So you've put this perfect team together. Look at these perfect hikers. They've all got the right personality traits. They want to work together. They like each other. But have you agreed on where you're going? This lady wants to get up early and go to the creek for a meandering hike. And I can see this person, they want to hit the peak. They're going to leave at sunrise. Good for you. On low-functioning teams, the teams don't always agree with where they're going. They haven't clarified the vision. They haven't clarified the objectives. But on high-functioning teams, the teams are meaningfully involved in creating their objectives. The aim statement is something that everybody collaborates with and creates together. So when the team picks the objective, everybody's motivated in the same direction automatically. Now, it might feel good when the corporate office tells you that you've hit some of their objectives, but nothing compares to the deep sense of satisfaction a team gets when they hit an objective that they created. You just can't fake this level of joy and this level of engagement. Look at those smiles. That's real. The team picks the objective. Now, positive deviance. This is a term you might not be familiar with. It was used in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. My favorite application of this was when Jerry and Monique Sternin talked about it in their work with Save the Children. You see, they were working with villages in Vietnam, and they noticed that some villages flourished, while otherwise other villages languished. Now, the difference was that the villages that flourished, they were eating unconventional types of food that they found. Poor people's food is what they thought it was. These are things like shrimp and even snails that they found in the rice paddies. They were feeding their children what was typically animal feed, things like sweet potato greens. Now, positive deviance came to refer to teams or groups of people whose uncommon behaviors were able to solve problems better than their neighbors. You see, in positive deviance, it's critical that each team solves a problem their own ways. They have their own skills and they have their own environment. You can't just take a solution that worked well in village A and apply it to village B. Positive deviance. The fourth one is continuous quality improvement. Now, in low-functioning teams, you may have a quarterly performance review. And at the end of the review, they'll say, oh, hey, sorry, did you have any feedback for us? Now, that seems like an afterthought. In teams that embrace continuous quality improvement, the ideas are tested and used on a daily basis by the team. The team is trusted to come up with the solutions to their own problems. This is an ethos that permeates the entire work culture. So if they've already learned how to solve their problems by positive deviance, now they're using continuous quality improvement on a daily basis to fix all the problems that they encounter. Under this guise, each member of the team actually has two jobs. They have the job they were assigned, and they also have the job to improve that job. If you think back to the village in Vietnam, who's more likely to come up with the idea of eating snails? Is it head office or corporate? Or is it the villagers with their hands literally in the problem? Continuous quality improvement. So the universal language of collaborative problem solving really has four key pearls. If you can bring a team together that wants to work together, that has meaningfully contributed to their objective, and is allowed to solve their problems on a daily basis, continuously, every member of the team is going to be elevated. What you'll do is you'll create a new, resilient community that share their purpose and they share their vision. There's incredible camaraderie. This then forms the healthy soil that allows every team member to thrive. So when I go back and I think of that iconic image of the trauma surgeon, what do you think motivated me? What do you think inspired me to go through and encounter this career, engage in this career? I can tell you it wasn't just about fixing bones or Achilles tendons. After 25 years, I've realized that what I wanted and what I still want is to work on high-functioning teams. I want to work with amazing people that help me to be my best. Together, I want to develop objectives that we all find motivating and inspiring. I want to work in an environment where I can actually solve the problems on a day-to-day basis in a continuous way, not just to fix the work that I'm doing, but to fix the environment I'm doing it in. Actually, it's really simple. I just want to be in great soil. When have you felt disconnected or alone or like you didn't belong? It doesn't have to be that way. 25 years ago, I was literally lost at sea. And if I could go back now and rewrite the message that I wrote to myself, rewrite the question. It's the question that I had asked myself, and it's the question that I'm asking you. Can you imagine yourself as a member of a high-functioning team? How would you be different? How would your life be different if you could be embedded not just in good, but in great soil?